Why China shocks the world and others don't progress is not evenly distributed across the world. And the reason is not technology. In some countries, it takes 10 years to approve a single rail line. In China, entire cities rise in that same time. Transportation networks appear. Factories scale. Infrastructure locks into place. Do they have different machines, different software, different principles? So why does one society accelerate while others hesitate? China didn't unlock a secret technology. What it unlocked is something far less visible, a system that tolerates speed. From the outside, this looks like efficiency. From the inside, it feels like momentum. Shenzhen was a fishing village just a few decades ago. Today, it operates like a prototype of the future. Electric vehicles dominate the streets. Payments happen without wallets. Drones deliver food. Robots move through factories as if this was always normal. None of this feels experimental, it feels routine. And that's the first thing most people misunderstand. Progress doesn't begin with innovation. It begins with acceptance. Acceptance that things will change quickly. Acceptance that mistakes will happen. Acceptance that systems won't be perfect when they go live. China prioritizes outcome over negotiation. Decisions are centralized. Coordination is enforced. Speed is valued more than consensus. That doesn't mean resistance doesn't exist. It means resistance doesn't slow the system. From a psychological perspective, this matters more than ideology, because modern progress is no longer about building one thing. It's about restructuring entire systems while they're still running. Energy grids, transportation, digital administration, manufacturing, urban life. These systems don't upgrade smoothly. They enter unstable transition phases. Things break before they improve. Most societies struggle here. For most of human history, progress didn't feel threatening. It felt contained. A bridge was built in one place. A factory opened in one city. A new invention changed a specific task. If something went wrong, the damage stayed local. Mistakes were visible, limited, and reversible. Modern progress doesn't work like that anymore. Today, every major change touches multiple systems at once. Energy policy affects industry. Industry affects supply chains. Supply chains affect cities. Cities affect everyday life. There is no off switch, no isolated experiment. This changes how progress feels on a psychological level. People are not reacting to innovation itself. They are reacting to the loss of predictability. When systems are tightly connected, no one can fully see the consequences of a decision in advance. And when consequences are unclear, trust becomes fragile. This is where many societies slow down. They don't resist progress because they reject change. They resist it because they are trying to protect stability while everything is in motion. Hospitals still need to function while systems are modernized. Transportation cannot stop while infrastructure is rebuilt. Administration has to remain reliable while being digitized. Everything must improve without ever failing. China does not operate under this expectation. Instead of maintaining continuity at all costs, it allows interruption. Instead of promising smooth transitions, it accepts turbulence. Instead of avoiding disruption, it plans for correction. This is not about recklessness. It is about sequence. Move first, stabilize later. Other societies reverse that order. They seek stability before movement. They demand reassurance before action. They negotiate outcomes before testing reality. Psychologically, this feels safer. Systemically, it is slower. This explains why identical technologies produce radically different outcomes. It is not a question of intelligence, or creativity, or resources. It is a question of tolerance, tolerance for uncertainty, tolerance for incomplete solutions, tolerance for phases where systems feel worse before they improve. China has institutionalized that tolerance. That does not eliminate fear, it overrides it. And this comes at a human cost. When speed is normalized, pressure becomes permanent. Correction never stops. Stability is temporary. Progress turns into a continuous state rather than a destination. This is why China's progress looks both impressive and unsettling. It is not a finished future. It is a system constantly adjusting itself in real time. China also operates differently when it comes to uncertainty. Uncertainty is treated as a phase, not a threat. Failure is treated as information, not as scandal. Correction is expected. This doesn't make the system gentle, it makes it fast. In societies where mistakes carry heavy political or social punishment, risk becomes expensive. People delay decisions. Processes accumulate safeguards. Progress slows under the weight of its own caution. China accepted a different trade-off. Public negotiation is limited. Top-down decisions are normalized. Legitimacy follows results, not debate. That's why entire industrial ecosystems can emerge almost overnight, not because they're flawless, but because they're allowed to exist before perfection. This difference becomes especially visible in technology adoption. Electric vehicles didn't spread in China because people debated their ethics for years. They spread because infrastructure appeared quickly, charging stations multiplied, regulation aligned, and the system moved as one. In many other countries, the technology exists, but coordination doesn't. Progress stalls not at the level of innovation, but at the level of integration. This is where trust enters the picture. High trust systems don't require constant oversight. Low trust systems do. China compensates for limited interpersonal trust with centralized control. Other societies rely on distributed trust and participation. High trust systems don't require constant oversight. Low trust systems do. China compensates for limited interpersonal trust with centralized control. Other societies rely on distributed trust and participation. Both models work until change accelerates. Acceleration amplifies weaknesses. In participatory systems, speed creates friction. In centralized systems, speed creates risk. China accepts that risk, and that's why its progress looks dramatic. But here's the uncomfortable part. Speed is not the same as stability. Rapid progress increases systemic fragility. Errors propagate faster. Dependencies multiply. Small failures scale. China's system absorbs this through constant correction. Other systems absorb it through delay. Neither approach is superior. They reflect different psychological tolerances. What China demonstrates is not technological superiority. It demonstrates a high tolerance for transition pain. Modern progress always includes phases where things feel worse before they feel better. Delays, disruptions, uncertainty. Most societies instinctively resist these phases. They interpret them as failure. China treats them as cost. That's why progress there feels relentless. And that's why progress elsewhere often feels exhausting. We live in a world where our tools evolve faster than our ability to integrate them meaningfully. Technology scales. Institutions lag. Psychology resists. Fear grows. Fear increases demands for control. Control slows adaptation. And the loop tightens. China breaks this loop by prioritizing coordination over comfort. That doesn't make the system humane. It makes it functional. And this is where the story often gets distorted. From the outside, China's progress looks like domination. From the inside, it's a system constantly managing instability. Progress is not an object, not a building, not a robot. It is a process, and a fragile one. The real question is not whether China will surpass other countries. The question is what kind of progress different societies are willing to pay for. Speed requires tolerance for uncertainty. Innovation requires tolerance for error. Transformation requires tolerance for discomfort. China has built a system that absorbs these costs aggressively. Other societies choose differently. Understanding this doesn't tell us which path is right, but it explains why progress feels so uneven across the world, and why it feels so difficult right now, because progress is no longer limited by what we can build. It's limited by what we can psychologically endure. This dynamic is one of the forces shaping us, often without us realizing it. And understanding how it works is the first step toward engaging with change more consciously, instead of simply reacting to it. Subscribe and start understanding yourself and the world differently.